Hello, beautiful people. I'm Elizabeth Molina, and today we're doing this a little bit different and every day. I'm not going to sit here and tell you about all the certifications that I have, or how I modeled for most of my life, or how beautiful I am, or all the beautiful things that I do and have accomplished. If you're interested, you can always check my website and see all the certifications that I have put myself throughout life. Many people call me their beauty guru because of my curiosity, knowledge, and passion for the concept of beauty in the modern world. Today, I am your beauty guru. This is definitely the place to be if you're into bio, beauty, and life hacking, and of course, understanding the why for your beauty routine. If that's you, then you are in the right place. Are you ready for today's glow up session? Welcome back, my beautiful people. As you know, we have been diving into the different categories of the beauty circle. Guys, if you do not have this, I highly suggest you getting it. It is free. It is on my website. All you have to do is put in your information and it will be emailed to you for free. Yes. So we are diving into all the categories with different experts, and today we are actually getting a combination of them, which the category is skin and makeup. Our guest today is none other than Valeria Nova. If you don't know who she is, let me tell you. She is a makeup artist, teacher, entrepreneur, and a self-love expert. She has been doing hair and makeup since she can remember. She's also a mom of 3 and a believer of the magic of the universe. She has been featured on magazine covers like Oxygen, Playboy, Optimize, Muscle, and Fitness Hers. She's also worked on celebrities like Nikki Hilton, Trish Stratus, to name a few, and she's worked on productions like Dragon's Den, brands like Joe Fresh, and of course, she's worked on women like you and myself. She is here to inspire women to embrace makeup, love themselves, and be their very own makeup artist. She has launched a course, and we'll talk a little bit about that, a makeup and self-love program, which is very easy to follow. She basically provides you with a foolproof makeup routine that will also help you fall in love with yourself. Let's welcome our guest. Hi, Valeria. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Did I miss anything in your intro?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how up to date it is in terms of my timeline, but I'm currently super pregnant with my third. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here because yeah, it's just perfect timing.
Amazing. Yeah, well, you're due any second, aren't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
So thank you for being on. I think by the time this airs, you'll have baby number 3.
Yes, so
Amazing.
exciting.
Yeah. So let's get to it. What is your why for using makeup and loving yourself? To further elaborate, what made you decide to use makeup as a part of your daily practice of self love?
Honestly, for myself personally, I've always been into makeup. That's how I became a makeup artist. So for me, this is just something that has been part of my daily routine pretty much for as long as I can remember. I feel like when we're younger, we take advantage of the fact that we're super youthful and we can pretty much do whatever we want to our faces, right? Anything looks good
For sure.
on a beautiful young face, right? With no wrinkles, no lines, no skin discoloration. I think it was really when I started to notice those first signs of aging, probably towards like my late 20s, early 30s, that I was like, okay, like I feel better about myself when I incorporate certain makeup steps in my daily routine. And that's not to say that I don't feel beautiful when I don't wear makeup. And that's not to say that I encourage women to wear makeup to feel beautiful. But I really do believe that there's something in creating a daily makeup routine, and it doesn't have to be super lengthy, but just figuring out which features you love about yourself, which ones you want to maybe conceal a little bit, and creating a simple self-care routine for yourself using makeup.
I love that. And it's also my MO. Like, I'm always about accentuating your natural beauty, figuring out what you want to enhance and what you want to like define. I think we are on the same wavelength when it comes to beauty and natural beauty and self-love and like what that encompasses. So I really love that. That's usually where we all start with the makeup. I think when we start aging and we start noticing those, you know, hyperpigmentations or those fine lines, or like how do we look a little more bit more snatched.
Yes.
That's kind of it. And now with the filters, oh my gosh, it is hard to keep up with that.
I think that there's a special place for women like me and you who talk about self-acceptance and a natural way to enhance your beauty.
I love that. Yes. So, with that being said, what was some of the first steps that you took to get yourself more serious about loving yourself, and how did makeup play a role into that? Was it mental, physical, spiritual? Was it a mix? I know we got into it a little bit, but like tell us a little bit more.
Probably after the birth of my daughter was when I really started to just like appreciate or like perceive what I was doing on a daily basis. Like I had like not one but two little people watching what I do on a daily basis. And you know, like as your children grow, they obviously ask questions about everything that you do. And you know, having a little girl growing up in this world and me being a makeup artist, there was just like a lot of I just wanted to be like really conscious about like the kind of messaging that I was sending out to my children. I've always been the type of woman who took care of herself, in the sense of like I've always eaten well for the most part. I've always incorporated some kind of exercise routine. Like I said earlier, I always had a self-care routine of sorts. But having children and becoming a mother totally changes you in such a beautiful and profound way. So for me personally, I think that was when the gateway to my spiritual journey really opened, because I feel like our children come into our lives to teach us probably more than we can teach them. It's an opportunity to step up and to be the kind of person that you want them to be. I guess a year and a half ago, was so busy with work, was not putting any self-care time into myself. I was working, momming, absolutely nonstop, until I got to a point where my body was literally like, girl, something's got to give. And like it started with back issues for me.
Wow.
So I went to see a fascia release therapist. She came highly recommended by one of my clients, and this girl was very intuitive. So when she was working on my physical body, she was also talking to me about things like my energy and my chakra system, and just kind of, you know, starting to like really open up the gateway to like other modalities that you can incorporate when you're looking to heal yourself. And for me, I've always been very open to that kind of stuff. So I was very receptive at that point in my life, like I said, because I was a mother and because I knew that something had to change. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened, right? So I started to see a spiritual healer, and I guess that was like a big shift for me. She just like really aligned me with my purpose. And when that happened, I just like stepped into my role as a woman in today's as a modern busy woman in today's world, as a mother and as a makeup artist and as a teacher, right? And just really kind of started to preach the importance of incorporating simple self-care and self-love routines into your everyday for the modern busy woman, which completely can include your makeup routine. It can be as simple as taking 5 deep breaths. It can be as simple as applying your mascara. It can be taking a bath. It can be going for a walk. But as long as you create that self-awareness for yourself, it can be a really big game changer for a lot of women today.
And so like everybody has some sort of signal that their body gives them, right? It's like a warning sign. It's like, hello, pay attention to me. We need help. We need self-care. We need self-love. We need maintenance. And you call it whatever you want to call it. Self-care, self-love, makeup, maintenance, massages. You know, I really love that you said that, because a lot of us women especially
suffer from back pain, especially after having kids, in general, working, bending over, estheticians, makeup artists. That is something that no one talks about, actually, like the back pain that you get from being overbooked. It's also like a thing, right? Like you're too busy, you have back pain. And so that was a really beautiful connection that you made. So thank you for sharing that with us. So what ways do you ensure to practice self-love with your makeup routines and daily practices? I know you gave us some tips and tricks, but like, what do you do? Especially, you're about to be a mom of 3. You're busy.
Yes.
You're launching something new that we're going to hear about in a few minutes. And it's not easy to do it all, I have to tell you. Like, it's super hard and it's very demanding. And then you still have time to show up for yourself, for your clients, for your babies, to give them a good example. You're glowing, you know, you're put together. So like, tell us what you're doing.
In terms of like the biggest tip or trick is to just like gain self-awareness for yourself. I think like it is so easy to go into autopilot mode, and I am guilty of this over and over again. I'm not saying like, oh, hey guys, look, I climbed Mount Sinai or whatever, like I have it all figured out. No, it's like an ongoing, you know, you gain that self-awareness, you have that aha moment, and then every day you show up for yourself in whichever capacity that you can, right? So like you said, for me, like, yeah, I'm going through a lot right now. Like I have 2 toddlers, I have a 3rd one, like about to pop out any moment. I'm like running my own business. But it's really just like recognizing like, oh my God, I'm so frazzled in this moment. Like I need something. So in terms of what I incorporate on the daily, I literally create little self-care rituals out of everything that I do for myself. And I make it a mindful habit. So like, you know, I wake up, I make sure to drink a glass of water, hydrate myself. I create a nighttime skincare ritual. So like as my kids are brushing their teeth, I'm washing my face, I'm applying my toner, I'm applying my serum, I'm applying my moisturizer. And so like even if it's in the mix of the daily hectic life, I know that you know 5 minutes that I'm taking to myself is going to benefit me in the long run. I've prided myself in basically creating a 5-minute makeup routine for myself, and this is something that I really aspire to teach other women. It does not have to be complicated. You don't need a ton of product. You need to find out what works for you and invest the time in learning how to do it for yourself. And I think like, you know, it's just really about tuning into yourself and figuring out what works for you, and staying committed to that, right? And just like giving yourself grace when you veer off that path, you know, just like recognizing. For me, like I try to say, oh, I meditate on the regular basis. I'm going to say I probably do like 3 meditations a week. I try to do it daily, but I know that on those moments when my mind is just like thinking 10,000 thoughts a minute, I'm like, this is when you need to meditate. Like you need to shut it off right now. Like it's like we turn off our technology at the end of the night. You know what I mean? You got to turn off your brain when it's going into over mode like that. So it's just like, it's about self-awareness. It's about creating little rituals for yourself, and it's about being committed to yourself.
I love that. And I have to ask, so when did you become so in tune with yourself? Was it before the backache or was it after? Because I feel like you are very in tune with yourself. You're very self-aware. Oh, my mind is on overload. It's overheating. I need to stop, take a breath, meditate. And really that's what meditation is, just calming the mind down. It's not like you're going to go into like another dimension. That can happen also, but I think I love that you said that, because a lot of us think we're intimidated by meditation and breath work because we are expecting to, I don't know, I think we see so many commercials and gurus and all these people who are like floating and levitating, and we're like, we can't do that. And so I think you hit the nail on the head when you said just a time out, turn it off for a second, just breathe, just be present. That in itself is so powerful. And it's like, that's what meditation is. Tuning it out, turning it off. Yeah.
100%. I like, that's exactly it. And I think like once you start on this journey for yourself, once you like have that aha moment and make that commitment, it's an evolution, right? Like I said, I was always kind of like interested in energy and meditation, and I would do yoga and all that stuff, but it was kind of superficial. I never like really had that moment of like, okay, now I need to show up for myself. And so it did start with my back pain, like very much so, because my body was like yelling at me to figure out a different flow. And so I did. And like I said, it's still a challenge, like it's still an ongoing progression. But once you start down that path, like you really don't ever stop, right?
Yeah, amazing. So that is so important for us to know that. And I think that's such a big giveaway because we are talking about makeup as a whole, skincare as a whole. It's not just a product. Put it on, put on some lashes, put on some eyeliner. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Like you said, tuning in with yourself, creating these small rituals for yourself. Even washing your hands in itself is a ritual. If you are doing it presently, like you think about the water flowing in your hands, and that could be just cleansing away all your stress. And like just
Yes.
thinking about that, it can actually happen because the mind, as we know, is the most powerful tool that we have. And it is so smart, like smarter than we are, because it does things for us that we don't even know that we're manifesting or bringing into. So I love that you shared that. And so another question that I have for you, it's more along the lines of this, your tips and tricks. And everyone, you are an expert in your field, right? You are definitely known in the industry. You've done a lot of shows. There's a lot of press about you. There's like, people can look at this on your, I'll link the website and everything in the show notes, but like, does everyone, like, do you ever feel pressure to be perfect? Like people, oh, she's so perfect. Like, look at, she's a mom. She's doing everything. She's just like Wonder Woman. She's always put together. She's always glowing. She's meditating. Like, people are judging. Do you ever feel the pressure where like, maybe you're not like putting on your makeup or doing your 5-minute routine, or you didn't have time for your ritual, or maybe the kids were too rowdy and you didn't have time to do your toner and to do your nightly routine or whatever it is that you do? Do you ever have those days where you're like not the expert and you're like feeling like, oh God, how do I get back on there?
Absolutely. Like I'm human. So, and, and you know what, to be honest, like I try to be as transparent as possible with my followers. So like, on my feed, it might be a cleaner, more curated version of my life, but definitely the way I show up for my stories, or in my stories for my audience, is like I try to be as relatable as possible, because I like 1000% understand what it's like to be a mom and a working woman. And this year has like brought everybody's, struggles to the surface, right? In terms of going off track, it happens all the time. Nobody's perfect. I certainly do not preach perfection. You're going to get frustrated. When you feel those moments of frustration, turn around from your present situation, take some deep breaths, figure out, how am I going to attack this moment from a place of love, and then do as the best as you can. Another tip that I personally incorporate for myself in my life is, after the kids go to bed, I love to do, like I call it a self-love bath. I create a little like area in my downstairs washroom that nobody ever uses. I light candles, I burn incense or have essential oils. I take a bath. In my bath, I either like meditate or like I listen to a podcast that I want to listen to, but it's my time to just like get grounded and recenter, so that the next day I'm coming from a better place, I guess, right? I've taken that time for myself, and now we're starting at ground zero again, rather than allowing that like negative energy, that heavy energy, to carry on day to day with you.
Really beautiful that you shared with us. I'm so excited because I know so many people listening right now who are struggling and being so hard on themselves. Like I am also super hard on myself. Like I want to accomplish things and do things, and I'm just like, why am I not doing this and that? And then I forget myself, like, oh, I didn't eat all day, and so like I'm crashing, and that's not okay. It's like against everything that I believe, because I didn't have that time for myself. And then that's when the grace comes in. And then I'm like, oh, I wish I did this sooner. I wouldn't have been so stressed out. And so it's okay to be in your pajamas all day if that's what makes you feel good, and just giving yourself that time to recharge. It's what I'm hearing from you. And I think our listeners are going to get so much value for that because of that, because just knowing that sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to do that. And I just love your messaging around that. It's so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. We don't give ourselves permission for that. We live in a hustle culture and it drives me nuts. Like I'm
Yes.
like, it's a double-edged sword. I am a hustler and I appreciate the hustle culture because it has given us so much opportunity to go after and chase our dreams. It's almost like rest is frowned upon or something like that. It's like if someone asks you, how are you doing? Your best response is to say, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I'm so busy. Like, God forbid that you say, oh, I'm doing great. I've taken the last 3 days off. It's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? How could you do that? Like it's, yeah, it's an interesting time that we live in.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Giving women especially permission to make mistakes and keep going and keep growing is so important. Very important.
That's a really fresh perspective, I think, especially, during the times that we're in right now. But, going back to this flow that we're having, I'm interested to know, what does beauty mean to you? We all have an idea and a perception of what beauty is. And we also know that society tells us what beauty is. Like, we all watch those cartoons where like the princess gets saved and the prince comes and she's always waiting for Prince Charming and she's wearing this pink gown or just like girly colors. And so like we know what beauty is, and then society tells us what beauty is. So I'm interested to hear from your perspective, what does beauty mean to you?
I think the way I look at beauty, especially since being on my journey of self-love, is to just really like get to know yourself. And that's true beauty. It's like really just like diving deep and understanding who you are as a woman, who you are as a person, figuring out what your purpose is, and just like allowing yourself the time to grow into that person that you aspire to be. I think like, I just talked about hustle culture, but it's like we also live in this age of instant gratification and we just want like everything right now. We want to be healed now. We want to love ourselves now. We want to be beautiful now and be grow up now and be rich now, but it's like, if you have everything now, then like what is left? Right? You need to like appreciate the journey, the evolution of what it means to be, I guess, in to answer the question, to be a beautiful woman. And that can be completely different for everybody. It can be someone who doesn't dye their hair and doesn't wear makeup, and it can be someone who goes to the nines every single day, as long as you're coming from a place of love and acceptance, and you are being authentic to yourself. That's true beauty.
I love that. And that's so beautiful because I feel like there's a theme where you are very in the present, you're very in the now. And I think that is beautiful, right? Because you're not in the past, you're not in the future, which is where like anxiety and depression reside, in my opinion, right? Like you have anxiety because you're trying to predict the future. What's going to happen? Where am I going to go? Am I going to get followers? Am I going to get likes? Is this brand going to promote me? Am I going to do this collaboration? Am I going to get that promotion? Like future anxiety. And then the past is where you're depressed. You're like, oh, I used to have that. Or, oh, if I had those shoes again, or if I was 20 pounds lighter, like I was back then, it would be so different. And so like, these are states that we struggle in. And I think it's so beautiful that you talk about, no, now, today, what are we appreciating? What are we thankful for? And if we have everything just now, then what's the point? What's the point? And I think that is so beautiful that you can acknowledge that you recognize that is part of your messaging, because I think if we were able to all live in today, everything would be so much more beautiful. There would be so much more love, and we would just appreciate each other so much more. So
Totally.
You are so insightful.
Honestly, it's because it's all we have. 30 seconds ago is gone, right? And what's going to happen in a minute, I have no idea. Like the internet could crash. I don't know, right? So like the present moment is all that we have. And staying in the present moment is an ongoing challenge for sure. It's something that I struggle with all the time. It's so easy to get caught up in the, oh, I should be, and what if I don't, right? But it kind of like, it's great to have goals and it's great to meet those goals, but at the end of the day, it's like what's happening right now is what matters.
Right. I love that. And thank you for sharing that. So I have to ask you, being that you started this company, you do makeup, now that you started like a new program with self-love and makeup and just all these beautiful things that you're working on that we'll get into in a few minutes, were you surprised when you were talking about self-love and these 5-minute makeup routines? Like, did you feel like from your community or your following that like, wait, you're a makeup artist, like what's going on here? Like makeup is like a whole ordeal. It should be like an hour, like, you know, just the whole steps of it, like primer, and then you need to put eyelash primer, eyebrow primer, like primer for everything, lip primer. It's like takes like so long to really get that kind of look, and you know that because you've done that. And then you go from like, no, guys, time out. I discovered a new thing here, and let's talk about self-love and beauty. And you don't need all that. Let me tell you how to do it in 5 minutes with the least amount of products. Like, did you get backlash from that? Like, what was the reaction of people who were like, you know, from the industry and from your clients? Like, tell us.
Oh, fun and interesting backstory. I've had my business since like pre-Instagram world. So like when Instagram came out and kind of like hit the ground running in terms of like the content that was being produced by people, I personally struggled with, well, what do I put out there? Like, what kind of makeup artist am I? What kind of, you know, expert am I? Like, do I need to be doing these like fancy makeup videos in order to be relevant to my clients or to my followers? And I struggled with that for years, to be honest. It really wasn't until I started teaching the everyday women how to approach makeup. There's enough of the YouTube beauty experts who are all about the like sensationalizing the makeup application, which is an art and it's beautiful. And as an artist, I super appreciate that. But I think what is needed the most is really like teaching everyday women how to approach makeup. You know, 30 years ago, before the age of the internet, they could get away with like, you know, maybe I'll wear makeup, maybe I won't. But I feel like we live in a different time. I feel like women, not like that they're pressured to present themselves in a different way. I think that they want to present themselves in a different way, but we come from a generation where our moms didn't teach us how to do makeup, and now all of a sudden fast forward to today and we have like these beautiful girls doing, you know, like 10 hours of beautiful makeup on themselves, and it's intimidating as hell, right? So like, how do you break that down for the everyday woman? How do you say, okay, like this is a beautiful look, you can totally achieve this in half the steps, and you don't need all those products. And you know, if you have a pink lip gloss that works for you, that's the pink lip gloss that you can work for multiple looks, right? And just kind of like bringing it back to basics. So I think once I started to get really authentic with my messaging, I actually received a lot of acceptance. Like I feel like there was like women, and since bringing in the self-love element, it's like I feel like I'm being embraced in a big warm hug, because women need it so bad. Like they need to see their makeup routine as a place where they can come and love themselves versus a place where they come to get aggravated because they don't know what they're doing, and I don't like my eyebrows and I don't know how to fix them, and I'm just going to give up right now, you know? And it's just like really kind of like nurturing that relationship with yourself and your makeup routine.
Right. And we did speak about this earlier, about how when we as women in particular sit in that makeup artist chair, we beat ourselves up. We like tell you like, oh, I'm sorry for my eyebrows, I didn't do them well. But by the way, like this side of my lashes, it doesn't work well. So like, I'm so sorry that you have to work with me, because like I am the worst like material that you can work on. Like we sit there and we like and you've heard this because you've been on the other end when you're like, no, your eyelashes are beautiful, your eyebrows are just great, you just need to stop plucking them here, or maybe start plucking them there. And like, you are like the therapist, and like, we sit there, and even myself, and like every person that gets on, it's intimidating. You have that light, you're sitting in that chair and you're like, my lips, my bottom lip doesn't look like, can you help me? And you just sit there like this, like deer in headlights, and you are for sure intimidated, but then you're also beating yourself, and you've heard this for like years. And I think, with your method and what you're talking about, and your messaging now, I think it's a breath of fresh air. And I feel like people, and in particular women who are applying this makeup, and hopefully younger girls that are watching, are not going to be intimidated. They're going to look in themselves in the mirror, thanks to you and the stuff that you're doing, and that all of us are doing, really, this new wave of beauty consciousness and self-aware self-love, where we can say, I like my eyebrows actually this way. They're beautiful. Let me enhance them. That's what you're doing, right? Oh, I have high cheekbones. They're actually in style now. Now I can pop them. Because like that was back in the day, I had my high cheekbones. And I mean, you can't see it so much now because I'm a little fuller, but when I'm thinner, I used to get called an alien because like my cheekbones were so big, or my lips were they weren't in trend back then. So I would try to hide them. Like they would conceal them so they could be smaller, And so like now you are kind of saying, no, guys, look in the mirror and see how beautiful you are. Enhance those lips, enhance those cheekbones. Let's tighten in that jawline. And so I love that you are changing that narrative that we as women have carried for, I want to say, hundreds of years, because makeup isn't new, right? We've been using it for centuries, like literally centuries. We have been using blush, and we've obviously have new techniques to do that we're not using. Like before, they would use like ants and like they would use real blood for blush.
Yeah.
Now we've evolved, but I love this new messaging, and I love this approach to makeup that you have. It's so beautiful, because you can, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, but like that.
We are our greatest critics. And so it's so interesting, because what we perceive of ourselves is like 1000% not what people perceive of us, right? And so I've gotten to the point in my career now when women start that conversation, which literally happens every single time that they're in my chair. And I understand that, right? You're in a place of vulnerability. You're sitting there barefaced. Most of us wear some form of makeup on a daily basis, right? And you're sitting there and you're staring at another woman who's about to enhance your beauty from her perspective, right? So you feel this need to tell her your imperfections, or tell her like your insecurities, right? So that she knows, don't make my eyebrows too dark, or like enhance my cheekbones, or make my lips bigger, just so like you guys are on the same page. And so what I've started to do with my clients is like I dead stop them, and I'm like, look, like, you can, if you want to talk about yourself, you can tell me the things that you like about yourself. I'm like, but all those things that you're telling me, all those negative things that you're telling me about yourself, are not the things that I'm looking at. As an artist, I'm looking at your face, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I enhance this beautiful woman who's sitting in front of me, right? And so like, we're having two completely different dialogues inside our head. And so like, let's just get on the same page of like, we are both beautiful women, and I'm just going to like put some paint on you and enhance your beauty. I mean, one of the things that I love to ask my followers is, who taught you how to do your makeup? Nobody, for the most part, right? Like nobody taught me how to do my makeup. I just kind of like, I picked up a Kevyn Aucoin book when I was like 14 and started playing with makeup. And I think for most women, it's you pick up a mascara when you're 14, and 30 years later you're still using that same mascara, but you're a different woman. Your face is different, and the way you perceive yourself and the world is different. And so like, if we just kind of hit the pause button and look at makeup as a skill set that needs to be nurtured, right? Like, it's not just something that people are born good at. I mean, of course there are exceptions, but it's something like, it's like going to the gym. It's like getting your degree, right? You need to like realize, this is something that I want to do for myself, and learn the steps that you need to learn, to do it, practice, and voila, then you're in a completely different mental state. And that's really why I tie in the self-love portion with makeup, is I think like it really starts with that self-acceptance, because what I feel is women apply makeup because they're so hard on themselves, because they don't like their eyebrows, because they want their lips to be bigger. And it's like, no, sis, like you want to apply your makeup because you love yourself, because you love to accentuate your features, because you're a goddess. Let's like change that narrative,
Yeah,
bring you back to basics with your techniques, and like take it from there.
I love that. I feel like a goddess right now. Just talking to
Yes, girl, because you are.
you. We're all goddesses, so are you. But I am so like, I mean, I'm in awe of the work. I love this enhancing, like let's enhance, let's show them. And so I just love it. And you know, being that you and so we know about the beauty circle, right? Like it's this tool that I created that I think these are some of the categories that are crucial to you living your most beautiful holistic life. And I think without, you know, a little bit of each category, you kind of go off balance. And it's normal, we're human. Like we may not always excel in something, but just to be aware of it, like, hey, I could improve in this or that. So being that you are excelling in makeup, obviously, right? Is there something in the beauty circle that you're not excelling in? And can you share with us what that is?
I feel like I'm currently not excelling in my nutrition or in the movement of my body. I mean, obviously, I'm like almost 39 weeks pregnant, and that's okay. I'm giving myself the grace to be where I am right now. I know how I feel when I nurture my body in those ways. I know how I feel when I move my body, how much energy I have. I know how I feel when I eat more vegetables over carbs or whatever it is, right? I love the beauty circle. I think that's like such a brilliant idea. And it goes so in line with the way I perceive, I guess, a quote unquote balanced life to be. I really don't like that question of like, how do you find balance? Because that word balance conjures up an image of a scale in my head. And so I always think like, okay, well, like if in order for you to like focus on one end, like let's say mom life, then like your work life has to suffer, or vice versa, right? And there's always like that tipping scale, literally. So whereas like I like to approach my life daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, in a cyclical way like that, right? So you know that there are times when you are going to bring a little bit more focus to, let's say, your nutrition, your workout, or your partner or whatever, which might take a little bit of the flow away from another portion in that circle, but you're going to come back to it. Right. And it's just like really realizing that it's not a tipping scale. There's no balance. It's a cyclical scenario. So, and it's okay to live your life in that kind of cycle where like, you know, this week I'm going to be a little bit more work focused. Next week I'm going to be a little bit more mom focused. And tomorrow I'm going to be more me focused. And, you know, just like really like going with that kind of flow.
Yeah, I love that. And that's exactly, you know, why I created it, because I don't love the idea of that. Like you have to sacrifice in order for it to be balanced. Like I do always think about that scale. So that's really funny that you say that, because it is true. Like that's not real life, like not really. And when you do that, you're suffering, or you're taking away from another, like another, that side, you know, to put on the other side, because they need to be even. So when you think about it, it's weird, and it's like not realistic. It's not happy and joyful, by the way. I have to say it's not. So I really did create that because I wanted you to see how easy it was just to look at it, just to even be aware of it. Like you said, being present. What I do is I do one every month, and I fill it out, and then I put that on the calendar so I can look at it. And this month I'm like, okay, I want to work on relationships. Like I feel like I'm not lacking there, but like my skin and makeup is like number 10. Like I'm thriving there. I don't need to focus on that. Let me put my energy in the category that maybe I want to work on. So like every month I reference it, and that's how I use the tool. But I'm glad that you like it as well. So, you know, I like to ask all my guests to share something about themselves that we don't know. And that could be anything from like a skill that you have, or you speak many languages, like just something that we don't know about you. Like that would be really cool to just get to know about you. You play an instrument. you like to hunt or you don't like to hunt, like just something that's like we would never have known.
Well, I'd love to learn how to hunt, that's for sure. That's on my life's bucket list. What most people don't know about me, mind you, I don't shy away from this fact, is that I actually am an artist. So I have a background in fine art, and that's kind of really how I got into makeup. I was always a beauty junkie, but you know, when you're in high school, like your guidance counselor doesn't really come up to you and say like, oh, you know what you'd be really good at is like makeup or skincare or whatever.
Right.
They're always like, oh, here, lawyer, teacher, or whatever, right? So I've always been a painter and I've always been a creative. So I actually, after high school, went to art school and I have a degree in drawing and painting. And it really wasn't until the end of my university career that I was like, okay, well, time for real job life. Like, what do I want to do? And I kind of knew at that point already that I wasn't ready to like sit in front of a desk. So I had this opportunity to start doing makeup. And so I don't have any formal makeup training. I never went to makeup school. I'm completely self-taught. Yeah, that comes from my drawing and painting.
That's really impressive. Wow.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
so
sharing
much.
that. Yeah. So you shared a lot of tips and tricks with us. Can you give some advice to our listeners who may be stuck or struggling in the situation that maybe the old you was, and how do you overcome that? And what I mean was that I want to call it pre-back pain.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Dear listeners, dear women, hear me now. You don't have to do everything at once, and you don't have to perfect everything at once. The old saying of you can't pour from an empty cup rings so very true, because we do that all the time. Women are absolutely magicians. We pour from our empty cups all the time, and it's a very it's a dangerous territory, in my opinion, right? So I think like what I learned through my back pain is that no matter how hectic your everyday seems, like you need to take a breather. You need to take 5 minutes for yourself. Hopefully it's more than 5 minutes, or maybe it's several 5-minute increments throughout the day, but really just like understanding that you have to serve yourself first before you can serve the people in your circle. And that's not selfish. You know, I think like, again, like hustle culture, instant gratification, we feel so guilty for taking that time to ourselves, but it feels much worse when you're constantly snapping at your partner and your children and you're in like high stress mode, simply because you're denying yourself that self-love and self-care. Make a joy list. Make a little list for yourself of things that bring you joy. It could be drinking a hot coffee. It could be, you know, taking a bath. It could be applying your moisturizer, whatever. And like start to incorporate those little things into your everyday, just so you can find a little bit of self-love, eliminate some of that guilt. And then you're going to realize that the relationships around you are actually going to be affected in a really positive way, because you're in a more positive state of mind.
I love that. And I just want to add something, because I just thought about this. You know, even I love this joy list that you talk about, and even sharing it with your friends and partners, and not partners, but like your boyfriend, husband, partner, children. You can say, hey, mommy isn't her best because, you know, it's time for me to go take my bath. And like, I can tell you from experience, I have a teenager, and sometimes when I'm like in a rut, she's like, Mom, do you want, let's make a bath. Like, let's get some sea salts. And she's trying to like, she knows that like mom needs a bath, right? Because she's stressed out. And so, you know, when you do that, you help people hold you accountable, and they can also be that mirror for you. Like maybe you don't realize that you're on autopilot, and like they can be like, hey honey, I think you need your coffee. Here's your coffee, by the way. Here's your hot chocolate. Here's your tea. Maybe you need to watch an hour of Netflix by yourself and watch some show that you can just get some light humor into, or whatever it is. But like, I think sharing your list is also really helpful for yourself and for the people around you, because now they have the tools how to communicate with you. Because sometimes like if I'm hangry or just not in a good mood, I don't know about you, but like it is not a pretty picture. And so people know around me like what I need. to support
I
me.
think totally. And I think that's so important. And what a beautiful lesson to teach your children. You know what I mean? Like, really, at the end of the day, like, they are not learning anything worthwhile if all they're watching is a stressed out, angry, pseudo-depressed mom try to like hit those self-inflicted goals from a place of, you know, from a negative place. And I think like really like eliminating the guilt around self-love and self-care routines, especially when it comes to new moms and like having little children watch them, is so important, because you are actually instilling like the most beautiful lesson in life, which is you need to take care of yourself. You need to make sure that you're happy. You need to make sure that, you know, your life is your life, first and foremost, before you can give any of that out to anybody else. So I think that's a really great point. Definitely make your joy list and share it with your loved ones so that you guys can learn to take care of each other and pick up on those cues of like when you need a timeout.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And like, yeah, that's honestly one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself and your loved ones around you, because like you said, kids are watching you. And so like when they get stressed out, now they know like I'm allowed to do something for myself also. Like that's their default. So when they get older, that's just kind of how they're going to be, instead of like, you know, stressed adults. And nobody
Yes.
needs more of those.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, so we spoke about how we actually learned makeup the same way. No one taught us. We actually grabbed the same book, by the way. Uh,
Amazing.
yeah. And so that's how we learned. And like I would look at magazines and like figure out like, how's her eyeshadow looking? Like, what are they, just try to replicate that? And like, you know, it wasn't always pretty, but you know, I learned. I don't have the background that you do in art. I'm not a great, I can't draw really well or anything like that, but it's okay. I'm great with the canvas on the phone, on the face. So, you know, being that we both have kids and I have a teenager, and hopefully she'll be listening to this, and maybe her friends, or in the future our kids will, this is going to be on and they could listen to this conversation. Or if you have a teen daughter, like there are a lot of dads who, you know, are raising a daughter alone, or just mothers who don't know about makeup and their kids have questions. If you could give yourself advice when you were younger, like teenage, you know, 15, 16, or even preteen, because I feel like they're like 5-year-olds who are putting on makeup and like doing a really great job. I'm like, I see them on YouTube. I'm like, how are you cutting this
Totally.
crease? Like what? I don't even know if like the parent did it and then they just like photoshopped it in or like cut the clip. I'm not sure what's happening, but these kids are so talented these days. So, you know, what advice would you tell your teenage self about makeup and self-love and like all these things like that we spoke about, that narrative that we have to be perfect? Like we are instilled as little girls, as women, that we have to be like super women, really.
Well, I think what I would tell myself, your perception of reality is very much skewed. So, as a teenager, and what I mean by that is we are constantly bombarded by images and messages of things that we should do and we should be. And in the case of the beauty industry, it takes a team, it takes a village. And so what I think that most women, and especially teenagers, don't see is that there's this great illusion that comes with the reality that we're being presented with. And it's not real. What is real is you. And what is real is getting to know you and creating those boundaries and values for yourself. And everything else, like I said, takes a team. So if we were to just like take, you know, the celebrities and the Instagrammers and the models off of their pedestals, because they don't wake up like that. They do have professional makeup artists and they do have professional lighting and Photoshop, and it, you know, the images that we see are created with a purpose. And unfortunately, most of the time that purpose is to create low confidence or like a hit into your self-esteem so that you can buy whatever product that they're offering you to buy.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you are just so raw about all the stuff that you're saying. And I am like in awe with you. Um, I love that you said that it takes a village. And I think not just teenagers, but I feel like women need to hear this. because we, like you said, are so hard on ourselves. There is a team, there's a glam squad, there's like 10 people to make that like effortless look in air quotes, right? Like, I just woke up like this. No, you didn't. There's a hairstylist, there's somebody, first of all, there's somebody who cuts the hair, who styles the hair, who colors the hair, who treats the, there's like 6 people just for the hair, you know? So I think that we're forgetting that, because all we're getting, like you said earlier, are these curated images and videos, and we're like, the pressure is on, the filters are on. But once you realize that there's a team, you know, even for like the nutrition, like somebody is working and they have a staff member bring them the food they need to have so that they're not mindlessly eating. Because like when you're very busy, let's be real, you're gonna go into that Shake Shack or the Chick-fil-A or the Wendy's or Burger King because it's easy, it's accessible, you don't have time, you're on the run, you're trying to get, you know what, I know, we're just trying to get stuff out there, and there's so much pressure. So I think that, again, the grace that you mentioned, and just kind of taking the veil off, like, hey guys, there's a team of 30 here, like putting this together, like, don't be so hard on yourself. You're a team of 0, just one, yourself. So being that you're able to just show up is truly amazing and inspiring. So I love that you share that. And so now we're going to get to the brag time. You are going to be able to brag about yourself and tell us everything that you're up to. You have a course coming up. You are having a baby in a couple of days. You are just doing so many things. So tell us everything. Give us the scoop.
I guess I'm literally birthing 2 babies at the same time. Elizabeth is totally right. I'm due December 14th-ish, which is from the day of the recording, about 10 days away. So I'm definitely feeling the pressure to get things done so I can take a pseudo bat leave, which, you know, if any self-employed women out there know that that's not like really a thing, because you just kind of incorporate your work into, you know, your new life. But what I have been simultaneously working on at the same time as making a human is creating a makeup and self-love program. It's an online program that I have been fine-tuning, I guess, for the last 3 months or so, and it's really inspired by my personal self-love journey, and kind of like some of the things that we touched upon in this interview. I really just aspire to teach women how to hit the pause button, how to love themselves, how to create sustainable self-care rituals for themselves, how to stop feeling guilty about taking time for themselves, and how to bring it back to basics with their makeup routine, because I think that self-love and makeup really do go hand in hand with each other. So I have been working on this program for, I guess, like I said, 3 months or so, and it's kind of like coming together in the next few weeks. So I have it currently on a pre-sale for $100 off, and I'm sure Elizabeth will provide you with all the links for that. And then once the program is launched, then I'm really just hoping to connect with as many women as possible, because I think like the messaging that is involved in the program is pretty much everything that we talked about in this interview, but it is so needed and it's so important. And I feel like, especially this year where women have been presented with so many challenges, like working from home and, you know, caring for their kids at the same time, and just like, you know, the constant worry and anxiety of like what's going to happen next. We need to figure out how to take that time for ourselves, even when things seem incredibly hectic, especially when things seem incredibly hectic. So I live on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram at 2 chicks and some lipstick. Everything is spelt out, all the words. And then I have a pretty comprehensive website where I try to post regular content as well, and that's www.2chicksandsomelipstick.com. And like, I am an open book, ladies. So if you follow me on Instagram, like, please feel free to like hit me up in the DMs if you have any beauty questions. I have clients sending me selfies with their beauty concerns all the time. Same thing when it comes to self-care. So just like, I'm here for you. Like, I'm here for this movement. I'm a part of it. I'm in it with you. So let's get it, girls.
So you will be busy, but I'm sure you will get to the DMs and you will answer all the questions, and you are super helpful. So guys, you heard it here. You know where to contact her, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much, guys.
Guys, how amazing was this episode on skin and makeup? There is so much to learn, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. You can go ahead and check out Valeria. In the show notes, I have put in all the links. And I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of this community. Also, this week's giveaway is a surprise. It will be announced on Instagram when this airs. So as soon as you hear this, head over to my Instagram at Elizabeth__Molina, Molina, to see what this week's giveaway is and how to enter. So I expect to see you guys there. And again, thank you so much for subscribing, commenting, reviewing, and sharing the episodes. It means so much to me and the guests to spread our mission and just to help all of us really learn and educate each other. So until next week, guys, see you then.